Hello and welcome to another We Are Developers Live. We are live here on a Wednesday again. I'm not in Berlin. I'm actually on a workation, I think you can call it, in Corfu, Greece. So hopefully the connectivity will be fine. The weather is for sure, the food's for sure. There's cats everywhere. I don't know why they don't herd them in. But yeah, it's interesting to see that you can just do that in our job, like except for most companies don't allow you to do any longer. Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm glad that you didn't start with, it's 35 degrees where you are, Chris, because we don't have that here. But yeah, it is good to sort of reiterate what you're saying that, we can move around. I'm obviously here in the UK. You're usually in Germany, and we've got, staff members all over Europe. So yeah, it's very cool that they allow us to do that really, and that we get our jobs done.
I guess it makes sense as well because then you actually see the issues from time to time in connectivity. You can test products out from other places and see less how resilient your products actually are to like changes in environments. And yeah, it's been fun so far, and it's an interesting place to hang out, anyways. And yeah, 35 degrees it's not, but that would also be lethal for me because I'm ginger and that
That's true.
fiery ball in the sky is my enemy. So probably not the right thing to do. Today we have a lot of stuff to go through, and we collected a few resources for you. The first thing that I want to call out is that the call for papers is open now, so you can actually send us your presentations or your talks or your workshops that you want to give at one of our events, and that's for the Berlin World Congress, which is again in July on 26th, I think, and in Berlin. And we also got an event in San Jose in California in September. So you can actually send us your descriptions there as well. On my blog, I just post about it on all the socials. We have information out there where to click it. We're going to put it later on the magazine as well. And we also put it together a list of like what we want to see in a good submission for a call for paper because a lot of times people send us things in that are just like obviously ChatGPT generated and
Mm.
it's I mean we get about 2,800, 2,900 submissions anyway, so please don't waste our time with things that are not you, because in essence we want you on stage later on, so it's actually good to have you as a presenter showing us what you want to talk about as well. So yeah, that's happening, and that's really really cool that it's that we finally got the papers out, so we can now start collecting the right people and getting the right speakers on stage. um, Today, we also have a guest who's going to join us to go through some of the resources and then give a talk that is actually kind of out of my expertise, but quite interesting to see. So let's welcome Tiffany. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing quite well. Thank you very much for having me in the show.
So that's Tiffany Souterre. She's a senior developer advocate at AWS in France. And where are you based in Paris directly? Or
Yes.
lucky you, lucky you. It's expensive, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, like everywhere in the world, I feel like lately.
Yeah, we when I worked at Mozilla, we had an office in Montmartre, and it was basically like the tourist center, and it was a listed building, so we couldn't even pin things up on the wall, but it was a great
Oh, yeah.
location to show off to people. Like, so
That's a
that's
really nice
interesting.
area. Yeah. But there's a lot of uphills going up. Like you must
Yeah.
have, yeah.
Oh, I just love Montmartre because you just go out and you lose your way on purpose just to see the side
Yeah.
streets that you never see before, and it's just yeah, it's like the film Amélie to a degree. It's like really that
Oh,
beautiful, and it's really amazing. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, not happening anymore, and we don't have a Paris office yet, and we are developers, so there's no chance of doing that unless we want to do an AWS thing directly at your office. And we have a reason to go over there. I mean, I would have to come by train probably, and Dan can come by train as well. That was another thing. From London to Paris with the Eurostar, it was just a wonderful, wonderful
Yes.
experience rather than flying. So
Yeah.
you're going to talk about today about one of your hobbies that you made into a demo in the products that you do, and that is Dungeons and Dragons. How did that happen?
Well, so my primary role at AWS is to work with everything AI. So basically, try all of our services with AI. And what is cool with the developer advocate role is that basically they want us to be creative. Like build your own project, like do something amazing, like try to break our services so we can give feedback internally to our teams. And I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I love this game. And I felt like it was a really nice use case for an LLM because they're so creative. They never get impatient with you trying new things or trying to break the rules or the physics of the game. And also, I've played this game multiple times for the past like 15 years with different AI game masters, and I reckon that this is a very difficult job being an AI being just a game master in Dungeons and Dragons. You have a very thick book of rules to read and to know. You have to build the campaigns, create different characters. You have to create also the NPCs, so the non-playable characters, the other characters that you're going to interact with. This is a full-time job, like to be a committed game master. And I was thinking maybe AI can support those game masters in creating the rules of the game. Sometimes you lose control during the game because you have set an entire campaign for your players, but for some reason they don't want to go into I don't know, the forest. They absolutely want to go to the bar and talk to the, I don't know, the bartender. And you're like, I haven't planned for this. I have not planned the bartender like characteristics and backstories and things, but you can't prevent them from doing whatever they want because that's the thing. It's an open world game. So they can decide to go there. And sometimes you have not planned for it, but the AI can be right behind you and say, "Oh, let them go to the bar and talk to the bartender. I just created a character for you," and it's all fine. And that's yeah, that's how I started creating multi agents that talk to each other and that can actually create the game as you go through it. And it's been an amazing ride to play around with this.
It's a bit like being a lead developer on offsite with your team. Like, oh, there's presentations about the company. Yeah, but there's a bar, and like, let's go there instead. It's like that. The other thing
Exactly.
that you wrote to us is that you're also a big fan of astronomy, and I like that a lot. Like, I'm a big fan as well. So, how did you feel when Pluto lost its status as a
Oh,
planet?
that's such a funny question. Um, I mean, I'm a rather rash rational person. So if you give me the all of the evidence that Pluto doesn't belong to that definition, then it's kind of sad because you grow up liking the solar system as it was, but you have to you have to accept that if scientific definitions have changed and been more um, precise, then it makes sense. I mean, if Pluto is still a planet, then we would have to count for much more other objects that we have discovered later that corresponds to the same characteristics that Pluto is. And it's probably easier to remember the system solar with just a few planets than like suddenly 30 different planets. So I guess it just
Probably,
makes sense.
and then you have to give them random names, and then the
Yeah.
astrology people have to guess from the name what they do. I remember when I remember when Neptune was discovered, and then astrology was all about like, oh, that's all about water and life and the water and like your life with the earth. And originally they wanted to call it Herschel, which was the astronomer that found it. And I would have always wondered what the astrologists would have done with that. Like, Herschel, that's about your I can't come up with anything right now. That's really, really bad. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting bit. NASA just announced that they're actually 100% sure that there's life on Mars or something like that. I just read the headlines, and yeah, I always think like I had arguments with my partner about this. I'm 100% sure that there's alien life because it would be ridiculous and arrogant to say like this is the only place where life exists, because it could be not a carbon-based life form. It could be it could be based on other things. I think just our birth is just the messy neighborhood. Like, we're the ones that mess up our own planet so much that people look at us and say like, nah, can't be bothered. I'm not going to invite them over. They're going to mess up my room, right?
Yeah. That's funny that you started talking about the subjects. That I happen to have worked at NASA in astrobiology, specifically on that subject, which was trying to characterize the different um, types of microbacterial life that could live on Mars. And so I studied soil samples from Earth that had similar conditions than the ones we can find on Mars, and I tried to characterize the different types of life that could live in those conditions. And I remember it was like probably 10 years ago, but I remember that it was really hard and complex to affirm that even though we found life in those conditions, that they were once life on Mars in those conditions. So it's really exciting that they found evidence of this. Uh, it's like 10 years after finally we can confirm this. This is very exciting. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Dan has been found out as like a lizard person and just blurred out and then left and like, yeah,
Yeah,
what's going on here?
that was my time to leave. Yeah. Just after we were saying how good the internet is in 2025. Yeah, there we go. Ironic.
Excellent. Let's go through some of the things that I collected for us to talk through. And I don't know, Tiffany, how much of you applies to you, but I mean, you're a person that looks around the internet as well. And I think the first thing that I found very interesting and also, yeah, not really that much of a surprise is that dedicated mobile apps for vibe coding has so far failed to gain traction. People are basically have like, oh yeah, like you can build your own app on your phone as you go along before you pay the bill because you're too dumb to calculate 15% tax or something like that. But I always see this as a great example when people say like, I can do this on my phone, but there are certain environments where coding is better. And I mean, that's a desktop and a keyboard still, or like talking to your machine is one thing, but you will have to fix it sooner or later in those environments. So I'm not surprised that they actually failed to gain traction. It's just a matter of like the amount of money that is being pushed into those companies, and those companies are being bought by larger companies, even without looking at them. That's the
Mm.
fascinating bit about this. Where do you code? Did you ever code anything on your mobile phone, or is it more like here's my machine that I'm dedicated and then go into developer mode?
Mm, So I I have a story about this. I remember a few years ago, I was about to give a talk at a conference, and last minute I realized that that there was a bug and I had to debug the code, but I couldn't, for some reason I couldn't take my laptop out. So I went onto GitHub on my phone and tried to edit the code on it, and the experience was just terrible. I was so much more used to have a big screen and like my keyboard, and you have auto completion, and it's just the development environment has been made so comfortable that actually having a small screen, not having your keyboard, is just messy. And I totally get why this is uncomfortable to code. Like when you see the setup of coders at home, they have huge screens. They want to have multiple screens. They want to have their browser. They want to have their IDE. They want to have their documentation. They want to have probably YouTube videos where they watch a tutorial or something, and sometimes you want to have your music somewhere else, and you end up having multiple windows. But you're happy with this, like you need tower control thing. So when it goes back to just one screen on your phone, the experience is so poor that I get why people won't go to it. Although vibe coding probably targets people that don't code every
Hmm.
day. So I wouldn't know how to put myself into those shoes as a person that doesn't know how to code but just wants to vibe code on their phone. Um, Although I do
Yeah.
vibe code sometimes, but I like to have a large screen. That's the thing. I like to have a large screen just to watch what the AI is doing. I want to see all of the text of what they're doing. I want to be able to compare what was before and what was after. And this requires multiple screens to this. Yeah.
And I guess that's exactly what these dream merchants of like code vibe coding environments want not people to care about. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, the machine is perfect and does the code for you. It's going to be fine. You say what you want, and then it rebuilds the app 15 times on your phone. I also wonder what the battery consumption of these things are, of like recognition of the audio and going back to the server and in between. I mean, I have flaky connectivity here, and the amount of times I just get an empty screen on the most obvious apps is just really, really fascinating. I think it's an interesting one because it's not a market that is there. Like people think
Yeah.
like, okay, we're gonna uh, democratize development with vibe coding because anybody can talk to their phone and build the app that they need at the moment and not have to talk to one of those smelly, expensive developers to do it for them. So, but it seems like people are just still thinking, okay, if I don't find the app on the store, then probably the task isn't there. So it feels a very interesting way that is there. Another interesting bit is that Microsoft announced, or there was a scoop on Axios that they built a marketplace for publishers that basically allows you to basically, yeah, with Copilot Assistant. I can safely predict right now this will fail, not because it's Microsoft, not because it's AI, but because it's a marketplace. I haven't seen a single marketplace except for the ones that come with the operating systems that have ever succeeded. I mean, we tried to do like
Mm.
I mean, something like Hugging Face, where you offer like models for free and you allow people to iterate on them, totally fine. But people going somewhere else to buy things and basically sell their software on some third party marketplace, that model has never succeeded. And it fascinates me how many times we actually put things in there. I mean, AWS doesn't have any, and that would be very simple to build, but
Yeah.
there is nothing like that, right? It feels like the whole idea of like the success of the iOS marketplace was something that everybody wanted to repeat, but it doesn't. I mean, Dan, where do you get your software? Do you use the App Store, or do you also go to the command line and use a homebrew or whatever? Because
Yeah,
I don't see the appeal.
no, no, I agree. I think most of the time, I use the App Store just because you kind of assume that all of those kind of checks are done. Basic kind of you're not downloading anything that's going to have like a massive security issue that's going to kind of wipe your computer or your device. Is kind of the reason you go somewhere like that, right? And so I think Microsoft does bring legitimacy. It brings something that you say, okay, well, if Microsoft are behind it, then you've got a certain amount of safety, but it still doesn't answer the question of why I've gone there in the first place. I think, yeah, what I do like looking at this though is it feels like Microsoft and Cloudflare and some of the kind of big organizations are trying to do something though about how we make sure that everybody is fairly kind of compensated, be it that the creators or the content creators can at least kind of monetize their content if it's taken on by an LLM. So there is something that's being done, and I think this is positive, but it just doesn't feel like it fits just yet. Maybe we're still figuring out what this marketplace actually should be.
Yeah, the format should appeal to the new ways of using things, like the usage on demand, these kind of things, rather than like here's a marketplace to offer and buy things. It feels bizarre that we're always going back to that space. I mean, the legitimacy thing is a very interesting point because that actually makes it more interesting for malware creators to hide things in there. And the Android store has been very, very common, and even the iOS store. I mean, there were like 10 different VPNs that didn't exist. They were just malware, and they somehow slipped through that review process because the amount of submissions you get every day when you have a marketplace. And I remember when we had the add-on marketplace for Mozilla that I worked on, and the Firefox OS marketplace, you get just random stuff being sent in. There's companies that actually only build apps, like hundreds of them in a day, and flood those markets with them. I remember when I wanted to do something on a tablet for my niece to actually paint something, and that was like a 20-minute thing to write in HTML. And you just say like, oh, paint app on iOS, and it was like paint this donkey, paint this elephant, paint this cat. They just uploaded one image and allowed people to paint into it rather than just making a painting app and allowing you to upload your own images. So that there was a whole numbers game there going on that's really interesting. But when you say that security in Microsoft is a thing, so NPM has been, of course, under attack heavily the last few weeks, and there were lots of worms, and like people were phished, and they had all kind of things going on. And now Caesar and GitHub, which is now Microsoft, are actually taking action after this NPM supply chain compromise. And I think that's an interesting one because it's going to be quite a task. I think NPM became so successful because it was so permissive and it allowed you to just publish things there. And now you have to find a way to actually make it less dangerous. Uh, Tiffany, have you had any concerns about this? Have you been actually looking into your NPM modules lately and worried about this, or actually are you working more in the Python world?
No, I do use NPM. I'm aware of those issues. I don't use it too much though, because I'm more of a Python dev. But yeah, I was very concerned when I started reading all of those articles. Like this is a massive conundrum. This so many people uses this and depend on this, but in the same time it's really hard to monitor everything. So I think this is great that CISA and GitHub are taking actions for this, because we need big actors to actually make sure that those are secure. But yeah, like, to be honest, I still use it as
Hmm.
if, yeah.
Then, then what about you? Did you look at all your open source projects and all the dependencies and made sure that none of them had one of them in there?
No, and I think I'd lie if I said that I do. I think that doing absolutely no, diligence is kind of a fool's errand, right? Like, I think that there's something where there's always going to be a little bit of an obligation on developers, unfortunately, to at least kind of look
Yeah.
at what they're installing as like the bare minimum, right? And I mean, I guess this is part of that wider, shift towards the kind of the vibe coding developer crossover, where it's an easy way to kind of infect some computers, right? If you've got people who have absolutely no idea what they're doing, they don't even necessarily understand what installing a package is. If you're just saying,
Yeah.
if the agent is just running a command, you wouldn't even know that it's something to be wary of. But I think it's education, isn't it? The only way, even if you're going to be a vibe coder, you have to take on some understanding of this. Otherwise, you're unfortunately you're open for it. And I don't want to say deserve it, but you kind of go, well, you have to do some due diligence on the developer's part, I think.
And I mean, a good point with agents. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I mean, people having the problem themselves is fine, but agents not actually doing a security check before randomly installing things. This is what's really worrying me, because people run them on their own server farms and might have like code running for months without knowing it. I mean, there was an announcement that Claude Code can now code 30 hours at a time. And I don't know how expensive that would be if it codes 30 hours for you, but that feels like a comparison with like real humans. Yeah, you can do 30 hours and you have to pay for 40 hours a week for people. That's just, let's use the computers instead. But yeah, it was fascinating to see just how much how that worm got around. That basically it became like a very old school kind of virus that went from one package to another, rather than just like one package that could be blocked. So it was very cleverly done. One thing I just want to quickly talk on, because it's huge and it's actually a huge problem right now, that basically the Ruby world seems to be in kind of turmoil right now. Like, there's lots of stuff that Ruby Central is now Ruby Gems maintainers got kicked out of GitHub to basically not be able to do all things with their own, and Shopify took over. People are actually writing down why they're leaving Ruby Central and why they're actually not doing things for Ruby anymore. And yeah, it seems to be like a mess that world is in. I mean, it would be unfair of us to actually talk about it too much right now, but it's interesting to take a look at that, like how an open community and an open environment can be taken over by a company if they wanted to, and it feels very bizarre that it's tricky with these kind of environments, that basically a company owns it, and then you have to do things to get people off the project that actually have been very well, dedicated to it. Like, I mean, Tiffany, you as a developer relations person, you also have to work with third-party developers using your stuff at times. Do you get any contributions back to the core, or is it mostly people using your APIs that you work with?
Depends on the products, I guess. I work a lot with, and this is the what I'm going to be talking about, but I work a lot on projects that have been open sourced by AWS. So we do get a lot of contributions from the outside, and those projects are pretty cool. But for all of the services that we have internally, there's no contributions from the outside, from third party. Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to take a look at, and it's going to be interesting over the next few days how that's going to play out, and how many people are leaving that, or what's going on. That was also interesting that Accenture says like it's exiting staff, and I think it was 12,000 people or something like that, to cannot be retrained for the age of AI. And I'm just like, what does that even mean? How do you retrain people for the age of AI? Like, for
Well, I looked
instance,
at it
if
in
we want to
reverse,
make,
Chris.
yeah, okay.
I mean, I looked at it in reverse about the who cannot be retrained. I mean, I guess that, you know, if we're talking about sort of, I don't know, I was a developer and now AI has taken over, so I'm going to retrain and become a bricklayer or a carpenter, right? It's not going to be that extreme. It's still going to be in the realm of what you're working in at the moment. So if you work with technology, maybe your role changes. Maybe, well, it already has. If you're a developer, you're writing less code by hand. There's more auto completion happening, so your role is changing. I was just confused by the staff that cannot be retrained, as if
Yeah.
it's some, like, people don't have the capacity, or they don't have they don't want to retrain. Well, that's something different, isn't it? It's not that you cannot be retrained.
They're
It
not
just
solely
sounded
talking
strange.
about they're not solely talking about programmers, right? They're also talking about
No.
any kind of job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And that's the weird thing, because like, how do you say that? Like, oh yeah, I can type things into ChatGPT, I'm an AI expert, and the other people, I don't type into ChatGPT, I don't know what AI is. Like, where do you, what does that even mean to say like it's the age of AI now? So people need to know how reinforcement learning works. People need to know what like a neural network is, or people need to know how to actually write a prompt that doesn't give complete garbage back. So it feels like a very strange way of saying like, oh, the world of AI is here and you have to understand it, or you here's the door, but like you don't even explain to people what the world of AI is.
Well, I mean, when internet was out, lots of people didn't know how it worked, but they still used it. I think AI is
Mhm.
more of a tool, and I think when they say retrain, they most certainly mean, I think, that people need to evolve in their own jobs with the use of AI, um, because they won't be as competitive as the other ones if they don't use AI. But they don't necessarily need to understand it. I think there's a lot of technologies that we use every day we don't understand it. Um, I
I
mean,
have no idea how my washing machine works, and
yeah,
I
turning
mean,
the lights
so
on.
many, yeah, so many options, so many buttons. It's really bizarre. But yeah, it's a really weird stance to actually bring up that early, because I still think there's a question of like how much more effective are your people if they use AI on the things, or how much more are they actually wasting time talking to a chatbot? I mean, Microsoft just announced Vibe working as well, because they updated Excel after 20 years, and also Word. That basically, I don't know what Vibe working means, but I put it in the newsletter, so I have to read it later on as well. But it's a very interesting thing where people say like, "Oh, the machine will do cool stuff for you." I think it's a matter of like seeing if people are reluctant to admit change, and that's a great way of getting rid of people that annoyed you for a long time.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just a Trojan horse to basically get rid of people that don't work well. Let's go. Let's have more some fun things. I mean, this cracked me up. There's a website called IDEA, and it's basically IKEA instructions for different algorithms. So you can see like
Oh,
binary search as as an IKEA instruction, and you can see what else do they have? Public key crypto as IKEA instructions without any words, and
oh,
like
that's cool.
it's really, really lovely. It's like BOGO sort. And I mean, I love these IKEA instructions, and I love that how international they are, that you don't need to know English or Swedish in this case to understand them. I think I sometimes sit in front of them and have no idea what's going on, but taking something as cryptic as algorithms and putting it into that format is a really, really delightful thing to find on the internet, I think.
That is really cool. And they're not AI generated, right? This is one of the things that I think AI is not doing well, this kind of thing.
No,
S-
I'm,
Yeah.
pretty sure they're human, and they're also Creative
It,
Commons, so you can reuse them if you want to. And
yeah,
yeah, I'm quite.
I think this is where humans are still uh, dominantly good at is just doing things that are that creative and and yeah, that speaks to everybody. And I'm pretty sure this is one of the tests that AI wouldn't get right. This is really
Certainly not as an
cool.
SVG. You know, if you try and do anything with SVG, because I noticed they're all downloadable as
Yeah.
SVG, and that to me is the sign that it's humans. Because if you try and do something as SVG, oh wow, AI's got a long way to go when it comes to that.
Cool. I love Terrence Eden. I mean, we have to get him on the show. He's just a lovely guy and such a long time blogger, and he does some really, really cool stuff. And now he actually he wrote a year ago, a decade ago, 10 years ago, where he actually said how to test your interface with drunk people because it's a very, very good way to find out if your interface really works. And now he actually put a switch, a theme on his blog that is drunk. So if you turn that one on, it's like that's what his blog looks like, and it's just
That's so
randomly
funny.
animating and like blurring things. I think it needs I think it needs a test that we actually get drunk and look at it and see if we can read it properly then again. So it's like to see if we can filter it back, but I kind of love that. I
Can you
did that
imagine if you get drunk and go to that page?
And it makes
like
perfect
this.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago at Pari Web, I gave a talk about Amelie.js, which basically was a script that would slightly blur your page after a few seconds, but only on Internet Explorer. And I based it on the movie Amelie, where I basically said that like she does all these pranks on people to change their lives. And I said like if only on Internet Explorer the page looks blurry, it's actually becoming an accessibility issue that people have a health problem. So then companies
Mm.
have to act. So if you install this on your machine and all the Internet Explorer users have to go back home because they cannot do it, but you can do it. So that was one way of getting rid of Internet Explorer. And that was interesting because Internet Explorer was back then the only browser allowed you to blur things. And there was actually a way of testing that. But I actually love that he has all these different bits in there, like the extra and the light dark switching, and the drunk thing still is a very interesting read. If you want to really test your product, test it with drunk people. If they find the buttons, then it's probably a good idea. Now, Dan, you are our font person. I found this interesting. That's a game that actually to find the best coding font for you, and it's a way of like by going through like 50 different fonts and then saying yes and no to different ones, and then finding the one that you really want to use. Have you played it, or have you not have the
Yeah.
time yet?
Yeah, I did. I'll be honest. I didn't immediately understand what I was supposed to do. And on the left-hand side, which I know you can't see on that view, you've got a kind of tournament bracket. So it's as if like the World Cup, you know. So it's like this font versus this font, and then it kind of progresses through to the next round, and it keeps kind of showing you, you know, which one you prefer, and then you choose left or right. I was given a description at the end of hack, which I thought hacker related, but no, it wasn't. It's that I'm apparently like a comedian who tells jokes that everybody's heard before. I just choose the one that is expected of me. I'm completely unpredictable and boring apparently, but I think that's for good reason because it means I can read it. Because if anybody there, we've said this before, but if anybody is choosing calligraphy style fonts to write code in, you're either a genius or you just love pain. So yeah, I'm glad to just choose a nice normal font for this one. What do I choose? Courier New, I think. There you go.
It's it's pretty lovely. I mean, it's a nice way of actually showing just how many are out there. Now, Mozilla is doing not much, a lot of stuff right now about like the web and how it makes you feel in terms of like your mental health. And I love this article about cozy gaming. that basically is just like people start playing games that don't have a result, that just basically are there to just have fun and just play along a bit and forget about the horrors that are out into this world. And I think that's a very, very interesting movement that this is happening, and that brings back the D&D stuff as well that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I found that also when my last partner bought herself a Switch, and we had a few of those games that were basically just like a shopping list, like go through a world and collect sheep and collect some elephants and turn that water on, so there you can grow a garden there, and you need some food for the animals, so build it somewhere else. uh, I think it's very important to get this time off for people as well. I wonder if a digital game is the necessity of it, or a physical game might be a better way of doing it. But I love that this movement exists, and that's actually nobody told kids to actually go back to cozy games, but like instead, because when I look at like the successes on mobile, especially, all these games are like these fast-paced things that basically everything explodes and makes sounds, and you have to act quickly in the next 5 seconds to get the next power up and these kind of things. So, how about you, Tiffany? Do you from time to time play a game that makes no sense just to calm down?
Um, So I don't know if it's a generation thing, or, but I tend to have a strict discipline of my use of my phone and screens, and probably this is also because I work in IT. So whenever I have time, I just disconnect completely, and try to do that in the real world. Like just go outside, just do nothing, like just go slow. That's very interesting because I saw a documentary recently about what do you say in English? Bore when you're bored. And apparently this being bored is very important for your brain to actually reconnect, to make ideas emerged. Like apparently ideas emerged from your brain, from nothingness, from doing nothing. So if you're constantly doom scrolling, being on your phone, watching something, then your your brain is never at the state where it does nothing, and so nothing emerges, never, from yourself. And I thought it was really interesting because what they were with the people that were scanning the brain were saying is that you need this moment of peace and quiet where actually solutions can emerge from your problems in day-to-day life, which I thought was interesting. So since I saw that, I was like, oh, actually leaving my phone aside, not doing anything, not scrolling, not, is a good thing. And probably that those games brings you back to this slowness of thinking about nothing and not being, yeah, triggered by all of everything. Yeah.
There was an article in The Guardian years ago where they basically said that was part of why the boomer generation or the generations of earlier were much more creative, because they were allowed to get bored. They were not
Yeah.
like when the kids were like, this is boring, they didn't get a mobile phone in their hand and then play this game. They're just like, they go outside and do something and find something
Find something to
to
do. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, my parents threw me out of the breakfast and said like, don't come back until lunch. We don't give a crap what you do. Like basically, I was in a small
Yeah.
village, so that nothing could happen. And I find it right now here. I'm in Corfu in Greece, and half of the internet connectivity or the mobile connectivity is Albanian, which is not European Union. So I pay actually roaming for it. So when
Yeah.
I now go out, I actually have turned off my data, because I don't want to accidentally get like a 50 euro ticket. And yeah, I didn't take my phone out except for taking pictures of cats, and that's it. And it's actually really cool that you actually kind of get forced to do that from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting bit. Now, let's go through the last few bits before we actually hand over to you. This is doing the rounds right now. So Louise Fraze, who's been on the show here before, and other people worked on that before, is basically a CLI card. So on the CLI, you can actually create a business card, and she has a step-by-step instruction how to do that. And what it looks like when I turned it into mine is like here. So when you basically, this is what mine looks like. So you got an ASCII art of my photo,
Oh.
and all you have to do is MPX code poet card, and then it actually on the internet, it gives you the information, and it shows you how to do that. And it's kind of a cute idea. I mean, business cards have been dead for a long, long time, but this is really, it just shows how simple it is to do these kind of things. It's just a few lines of JavaScript, and these boxes, ASCII things are very cleverly done. So it's a really cute thing to do. And I thought about doing more of those. I wonder though, like if that's abusing NPM. Like, should you host stuff like that on NPM? Does it really make
Yeah.
sense? But I mean, who's going to stop you, right? Cool. Yeah, Tierney worked on it. He worked in Microsoft with me as well. And David Nee, Reverend Geek, then made it perfect. So you can go to that and actually fork it and start playing with it. It's quite fun to do. We talked about this before. This might be going into your area right now. I found it very interesting that the price per token bit, where you can compare if you want to see different models and how much money you would pay for them. And I found this an interesting bit for people to save money. Uh, how do you think about that as somebody who is obviously kind of biased in AWS? But it's interesting how much money you can waste by using the wrong model, right?
Yeah. Oh, per million token. I got scared. I thought it was per token, and then I
Yeah.
saw 100 something per token. I was like, who does that? Yeah. That's actually a really cool website. Like, didn't know about it. But I guess it's not only, well, for cloud providers. You have probably to take into account also compute. It's just, or is it just, yeah, it's just tokens. So
Yeah.
price might change depending on where you host your model. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's an interesting bit. Then there's like 10 MCP servers for front-end developers.
Oh,
Dan, have
cool.
you taken a peek at that?
I've not really. It was actually one that was on on my list, I suppose, for something to write an article on, because it's something that I've not really sort of dove in really to MCP. It's something that I've almost felt it needed that time to settle down, because you see so much talk about it and so much like this is a game changer was the kind of thing that maybe put me off, because you go, another game changer. I'll hold a few weeks and see if this actually is the game changer. But I do like the fact that now we're starting to see things like this where people can consolidate down all that information into like, here's somewhere to get started. So yeah, we'll maybe do it ourselves, test on ourselves, see how we get on, and then turn it into an article.
This was also interesting. Dot reverse find is actually really, really slow in JavaScript, and there's find last, which is now part of JavaScript to make it faster. I've never done that. I never reversed an array. I normally just loop through it and do a find on the first thing. But I think if the array is so big that actually you have to do a find last, then there was a problem generating it. But it's interesting to see that JavaScript has these new methods from time to time that people completely forget about. And just this article made people remind about it. So if you think about writing, and we're going to open soon our magazine for guest writers as well. If you think about writing technical articles, there's always this one bit that people forget about. There's one thing that's like, oh, that's actually so useful. I never thought about it. And these are really successful blog posts. I really think we need more of those and less of the like, here's what I think AI is going to be in the next 3 weeks. Because no, you're not knowing that. Last bit, also very interesting. Sindre Soros always comes up with like really, really cool little use cases. Lovely guy, really interesting to talk to. We should get him on the show here, but I think he's in San Francisco, so that's a tricky bit. But he has this trash module, which basically allows you to actually delete things in your app and send them to the trash of the operating system. Because a lot of apps actually delete things without you having a chance to renew them. So this actually, when you use it in your own app and it has like different languages like NPM here, it actually sends it into the trash of the operating system rather than just deleting it. So you can undo it and send it back if you need to. And I think that's a very interesting use case that not many people have thought of. That basically, like, yeah, it should be integrating with the rest of the operating system that way. So it's a very simple tool that actually does that job. Cool. I think that's all the topics that we had so far, and we're actually over time, but it doesn't matter because we're going to listen to you longer than you need to. You said you're going to do live things, so we don't know yet. Well, I mean, the topic is now going to D&D and going to AWS and AI to use it. But first, I got a question for you. What is 8 hobbits?
What is 8 hobbits?
Yeah,
Oh God, I
it,
don't know.
it's one hop. It's one hop bite.
Ah,
Can a joke be more nerdy than this one?
oh,
I
what a
try.
better
I
joke you
try.
can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do my best. So Tiffany, what you got for us as a guest topic that you want to show us? Now I got you completely out of your concentration.
Yeah. So so yeah, I'll be talking about how to build a game master with Strands agents. Um, I'll show you how to use this Strands agents is an SDK that we open sourced at AWS that allows you to build agents in just a few lines of code. And I'll have a few slides before just to make sure that everybody understands what's MCP, what's A2A, what agents are, and then I'll dive deep into the code. So let me share my presentation. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Um, so I'm going to start with what an agent is. So you you used most probably you know LLMs, which are large language models that are basically AIs that you can talk to. So you can think of ChatGPT, but there's just a lot of others LLMs that have this capacity of conversing with you. Um, Agents are the step after, which is basically LLMs that have access to tools. I like to make the image of the agent is a ChatGPT with hands. So it's an LLM that you can converse with, but it can also do actions for you. And that's the step we were missing if you wanted to have like a Jarvis, for example. So basically, like if you ask something like, I don't know, uh, book a train ticket for me to go to London, then ChatGPT isn't able to do that because it doesn't have access to the your credit card, and it cannot go to the website and they book the train for you. But if you give it the API calls, if you give it all of the informations that it should have access to do the act, to perform the action, then your LLM is basically an agent. So it has agency, it can do things. Um, so tools can be different things. They can be functions running locally. They can be functions running on service. They can be Lambda. They can be it can be also a database, so a knowledge base that your LLM has access to have more knowledge about a certain area. It can also be other types of databases that, for example, you have customer data or something like this, and you want your LM to be able to go through that database, then it could be that too. Could be a lot of different things. Um, and we've talked about MCP, so that's a good thing. I'm going to do a little introduction about what this is, but basically what MCP means is Model Context Protocol. It's a protocol that has been made in place because before MCP, we had agents and we were making tools for those agents. But you had to manage everything um, from the connection between your agent and your tools, the way your tools were returning format queries and responses. You had to make sure that you were managing both your tools and your agents. And there was no standardized way of doing this. MCP is the protocol we needed for standardizing all of this, for standardizing the way agents or LLMs were having access to tools. And what this created was also the possibility of not only creating your own tools, but also other people to create their own tools. And so you can connect your agent to their tools. And if they follow the standard, then you can connect your agent to pretty much any tool, which is cool because then you don't have to manage everything. And from the side of the people serving tools, then it's great because you don't have to care about how people were, making their agents, and you didn't even have to care about making a documentation on how to use your tool because there's a standard. It's like APIs reinvented for agents. REST API. And so there's also another protocol that I will talk about is A2A, agent to agent, which is pretty much the same thing as MCP, but specialized for the communication between agents. So agents to agent communication. So the standard is different because a tool and an agent doesn't work the same way. But basically, if you need to simplify things at its most, then MCP, the eMCP protocol is the communication from agents to tools, and A2A is a protocol that standardizes the way agents communicate with each other and collaborate with each other. Yeah, so that's basically what this slide is saying. And so going on to the demo, I'm going to show you different things. I'm going to show you how with Strands, which is an SDK that we open sourced at AWS, you can easily build multi-agentic workflows with agents communicating with each other through the A2A protocol and agents communicating with tools through the MCP protocol. And I'll show you in a bit how to build this app. So here is the presentation of the Strands SDK. Feel free to contribute also because it's open source, and we love to have your contributions and also thoughts and feedbacks and issues that you can return. This is really recent, so we're still building it. Although we use Strands as an SDK to build our own applications internally. So it is already, stress tested at its most because we deal with huge scales at Amazon. So yeah, to install the Strands SDK, it's really simple. Just install Strands agents, and here's the demo. Let me go to my code. So forgive me because today, for some reason, my auto completion doesn't work, so I'll have to type everything, which hopefully will work for this demo. So first, we're going to create a very simple agent. So from the Strands library, we're going to import the agent class. So to instantiate your agent, just simply call the class agent and call it with, I don't know, hello world. And here you just have to launch your code. And so very simple, basic hello world send to an agent that is by default, if you don't define here any model, by default will send the query to Cloud 4 on Amazon Bedrock. So you have this little thing here, like the print agent.model.config. If you play this, then you'll see which model you're tapping into. This is going very slow. Okay. So here's the model ID, Cloud 4. But I will use Haiku. So because my auto doesn't work, but I will use this model. Sorry for this. And model. Okay. So Strands has been made provider agnostic, which means that you can easily switch between providers. You like by default it goes to Bedrock on Amazon, on AWS. But if you here define a model, you can tap onto any other model provider that you have access to if you have the API key. And also, you can also tap onto local models. I'll show you in a second how to do this. Does it go faster, or is it? Yeah, a little bit. Oops. Oh. For some reason, when I send Hello World to Nova Premiere, it's telling me a lot of things. Oh, it's not Nova that I wanted to use. I wanted to use Haiku. Haiku is much faster. So many snippets I won't be able to use. Okay. All right. Should go faster enough for the rest of this demo, hopefully. Okay, cool. Let me show you how to use, for example, local models. So I have downloaded in the documentation here, you have the different models that you can use. Here, Olama. I'm using Olama to show how you can use a local model for your queries with Strands. So from Strands, import Olama model, and then the only thing you need to do is to instantiate your model, Olama. And then I'm serving my Olama model. Where is it? Here. Olama list. Okay, there it is. So just give the model ID you have. Here it's for me it's Llama 3.2 latest, and also the host. By default, Llama is hosted here on port 1143, and then you just have to here pass the model here. So now it should use my Olama model that I have locally. Yeah. So the answer, as you can see, is much shorter, but that's because the model also is tinier because it's hosted on my computer locally. So of course. All right. One of the things. So here we just created an agent that still doesn't have access to tools. Right now, it can just answer questions. It answers actually the hello world here that I asked here. But now if you ask questions such as, let me go back to Haiku. Let me erase this. If you ask questions such as, what time is it? Normally, what it does is that it's unable to answer your question. It's unable to answer your question because it's a model that has been trained at a certain period of time, and then it's hosted somewhere here on the cloud on AWS, but it doesn't have access to the time. And it's what it's telling you. I don't actually have information about the current time. Maybe it's going to give you an advice like check your watch. Sometimes it does this. So this is where an agent comes into hand. It is really handy because it has access to tools such as maybe a function that gets the current time and then give it to the LLM so it can formulate an answer. And we have built-in tools with Strands. You can use built-in tools. Where are they? If you go to tools here, yeah. So you have community built tools, which basically, if you install this library, Strands Agents Tools, then you'll have access to all of those available tools that have been created by the community. And today, if I want to ask the time, then I can get the tool that is called current time. Let's go back to the code and see how we can do this. Actually, it's Strands tools, yeah, from Strands tools, import current time. And the only thing you need to do is to pass it here in the list. Oops, sorry. Yeah, and then what happens here is that your agent has access to the current time tool that we just imported here. So now, oh yeah, sorry. So now what's doing, it's that my agent acknowledges that it has a list of tools and knows that it has a tool called current time. The way it is coded behind the scenes is that the current time function has a docstring that the agent actually reads and understand that this function actually is helpful to get the current time, and then execute that function and get the answer back. So that's how you can use tools. You have other tools that are, you know, like more interesting. Am I going to try this one? Yeah. So, for example, here you can import other tools to write files and to execute Python code. So let's try to give those tools to our agent, and then ask something a little bit more complex, such as write a function. Oh, write a file. I'm sorry. Write a file. How are we gonna call it? .py that calculates the first n numbers of the Fibonacci sequence and execute it. So let's see how it performs on this task. So first, it knows that it needs to write file. It's asking me the permission to actually write a file locally on the root of my folder. And here you can see the file has been created. And now it's asking me if it can execute the code. So we can see that in the fib file, it has created this function. And now it's executing the code, returning the first n numbers of the Fibonacci sequence. And it's actually telling me what it has been doing, which is really cool. Yeah, so that worked. Awesome. But sometimes you need other tools than the tools that are built in. You need to create your own custom tools. So now we are going to create our own custom tools because we want to create a game master. Let's see how we build custom tools. Just call here. I think it's tool. Yeah, I don't coding like this is a mess because I don't have autocomplete. So interesting. Yeah, it should be like this. So from Strands, import tool, and then create your own function. For example, we want to create a function. Sorry. We want to create a function that will allow our game master to roll a dice. And because I'm lazy, I'm going to ask Kiro to write it for me. So write a function that rolls a dice with a number of faces passed as a string because the LLM sends strings back, so it needs to convert it to integers, and then we're going to ask it to manage errors. Okay, function that rolls dice, number of faces. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's accept this. So here we have a function that can roll dices. The only thing that you need to do to convert that function into a tool is to add the decorator tool right in front of it. And then you give this tool to your agent. And now, if I just ask, roll a d20, if I'm not mistaken, it should, oh yeah. No, yeah, this live debugging. Okay, so that's cool. So it actually, now that we've wrapped our function into the tool decorator and passed the name of the function, it has a roll dice function. Even though I have not, and this is not best practice, even though I have not put a doc string in my function saying exactly what the function is meant for, my agent actually understood by itself what it's doing. Let me just ask Kira to generate a doc string. String. Is it gonna work? Whoa. That's cool. Yeah. Okay, that's a very long doc string for a dice roll function, but this'll do. Okay, cool. Now we've seen, how long do I have left? Okay. Now we've seen how to create an agent, how to use built-in tools, and also how to create your own custom tools. Now we'll see how to connect your agent to an MCP server where we do have a function that is served. So we'll just move the roll dice function onto an MCP server. Let's create a file called MCP server. And let's move this here. Okay. And let's create an MCP server where we have our dice roll function that runs onto it, fast MCP. What we need to do is first to create the MCP server. So just fast MCP. And we'll put it on port 8080. You can give your server a name, like another, but yeah, here it works as simply as that. And then MCP run and transport HTTP streamable. I'm just going to copy this from the documentation. Okay, so this is just enough to run your MCP server. And we're just going to add the function that I coded here. Okay, that we want to serve right there. And you just need to change this as it's not a tool anymore, it's an MCP tool. Is this enough? Yeah, I think so. So now if I run this here, yeah, of course. Is this good now? Okay, so now on port 8080, my MCP server is running, which means that basically my function roll dice is now available to be used by any agent that has access to this URL. So going back to demo here with our agent, we need to import two things, which is the fact that it's now an MCP client and the streamable HTTP client. So I'll add this line. Oh, wait, let me show you. Okay. Where I give, let's just call it MCP client. The endpoint of my MCP server that is running right here. And now we need to add a with statement where we create our agent. Put everything in here. And inside of this with statement, we need to get the tools from the MCP server. So the first thing you need to do is get it from a method called listtool sync. So it's MCP, oh, sorry, MCP tools equal MCP client dot list. Oh, I can't remember how it's written. Let me check in the documentation. Oh yeah, like this. Okay, and the only thing you need to do is to pass this into your tools. I think I'm good. Okay, let's try. Python demo. So now you can see what's happening is that my MCP server here is listening, and it has the function roll dice. And here, when I launch this and I ask my agent to roll a dice, it knows that it has the access to a tool that is on an MCP server, and it's rolling the dice. So it's actually running the function and getting the result of that roll dice, which is, here's the result, but it didn't show me the result. Let me ask again. Ah, 7. Yeah, it just rolled the dice. For some reason, it was not showing anywhere, but yeah. So that's cool. What we've seen so far is that how you can so run a tool on an MCP server, and now we'll see how you can connect two agents together through the A2A protocol. Let me get rid of this. And let's create an agent that will be specialized in character creation. The agent character. Okay. So my AI game master now has access to a dice rolling function, and we're going to give it access to another character, which is specialized in the creation of other characters in the game. So let me just yeah, let's create an agent. I'm just going to copy this here. And then agent equal. Now that my agent is an expert and is going to interact with the AI game master, I need to give it a name and a description, because my AI game master will read this to understand if it needs to use the agent character, and it needs to have a full description of what it does. So I'm just going to give it a name, D&D character management. I'm going to give it a description. I mean, the longer your description is, the better, but here it's a demo, so I'm just going to try, oops. I'm just going to try to make it short. You are a character expert. You can create and manage characters. What else? I'm just gonna try this. And let's give it tools to create characters. So usually what you're gonna have is a database of characters, but here we're just gonna make it create files locally. So do I still have? I don't. It's Strands tools, import. What was it? File. Right. And what was the other method? File read. Okay. And let's pass this as tools to my agent. Okay. What else do I need to do? Oh yeah, I need to create the A2A server. So my character agent will run on an A2A server. So we need to create an A2A server. Strands. Let me check in the documentation. Oh, yeah, Strands. Oops. Okay, A2A server, and let's serve this in a certain port. A2A server. What port? 8081. Oh, let me put this right after because we need the agent. And okay. Yes. Let me think. Okay, so we need to then serve. It's as simple as the MCP. When we had the MCP server, here the line was MCP run, and here it's A2A server that serve. And this should work. Okay. Let me serve it. I don't think I'm logged in here. Okay. There. Python agent. Of course. Where is it? Oh yeah. Comma here. Oh, yeah, because I'm not in my environment, but I also need to. Sorry for this. I need to be logged in so my credentials are working to call onto Bedrock. And yeah, and I need to activate my virtual environment. And now this should work. Okay, so now I have an A2A server running on port 8081. And my AI game master needs to be aware of this. So we need to give it also, like we did with the MCP server, we need to give it the URL. So A2A provider. And let me copy this. Oops. Here. All right. So what we do here is that you import the A2A client library, and from here you give all of the known agents URLs. So you can have multiple agents running on A2A servers. Just give it all of the different URLs right here, and it will be able to discover them all. And of course, you need to give it the tools. So you can concatenate all of the tools that you have from the MCP tool servers and also the A2A provider tools. And sorry. And when you create your agent, then it will have access to the tools from your MCP server and the tools from your A2A agent, which is the character agent that is running here. So let's see. Actually, let me put this here. No, it's not working. Okay. And let's see if, oh, let me ask you a question where I actually do ask the creation of a character. Create a character called, Gypsy is the name of my dog, called Gypsy, and make up its stats. Oh my gosh, is it going to work? Oh, cool. So what my agent is saying is basically it's using the dice roll to roll the dice for the different stats of my character, and it's actually creating my character on the fly. But it has not. Oh, it has not used. It has not used the agent character. Let me do a better system prompt. This is where you realize that when you have multi-agentic workflows, you actually need a good system prompt. So I need to tell my AI game master that this is an AI game master. You are an AI game master. You have access to, let me put this in multiple lines. You have access to a dice roll function and an agent expert in character creation. Okay. Oops. That's not what I meant. Nah, that's not what I meant. Okay. First, check the tools you have access to and the agents. And the tools and the agents you have access to. Then decide what to use. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if now it uses my agent, my character agent. And I want to watch here. Here we should see if it's calling my agent character. There you go. So what happens is in the A2A protocol is that it's first going to get what we call an agent card, which is basically the description of what the agent is, and it's giving it back to the AI game master so it actually knows what to do if it can use this. this is interesting because you can see now that your two agents are collaborating. They're talking to each other. Basically, what it did at first was getting the cards, so it's discovering all of the agents it has access to, and now it's asking my character agent to create my character Gypsy, and it's actually writing a file where it did create my character right there and dropped all of the stats of Gypsy right here and giving back all of the information to my AI Game Master. So my AI Game Master also has a memory during that session of what character just has been built. So, and it should have also had used my dice rolling function, as we can see here, it has called it, to roll dices to create my character. Awesome. So I showed you in just a few lines of codes how you can create agents to talk to each other and agents to talk to MCP tools. Now I'm going to, I think, let's try to show you the actual full demo of this. Let me kill all of my agents running somewhere, so my ports are free. Yeah, so I have a full demo where I actually I even have a UI where I play with sometimes. And here is a little bit more complex. I have three different agents. I have one character agent that has access to a database, an actual database this time, not just a file that it writes to. I have a rule agent that is an agent that is an expert of the rules and has access to a knowledge base, where I dropped all of the rules of the Dungeons and Dragons team. So whenever it needs to ask a question about, the mechanics of the games, my AI Game Master will ask the question to my rule agent. And I also have a dice rolling function running on an MCP server. And here is my game orchestrator, so the AI Game Master. I just need this URL right here. And let's see here, I'm going to start a new game. Let's say Gypsy is, yes, she's a girl. And then I'll just use this to generate a game. And what should happen here is that when you play the generate game, my AI Game Master first discovers all of the agents it has access to and creates the character for me. So Gypsy, that is I think an elf I chose, of cleric. And now this character is automatically dropped into my database. Send this back to the Game Master Orchestrator. So now it has created my character. Oh, too bad this isn't working here, but there should be a nice image. And now I can start playing the game. I have a few pre-written actions that I can do, but I'll choose investigate the glowing shrine and pry for guidance. And so this sends a query to my AI Game Master, which decides, whoa, error messages. Well, live demo, there you go. Where it chooses to roll a dice to see if I actually can investigate, I guess. It hasn't asked the rule agent if it can do stuff, so I guess it depends on if my system prompt is well written. But now it has returned the following of the game, and this is how you can create a multi-agentic workflow with different agents that are experts in different things. Yeah, I don't know if this was too long, but this is my demo. If ever you have any questions. Oh, also, sorry, I need to go back to my presentation just to share with you a few things. If you found this cool and you want to test code samples with Strands, then here is the first QR code that you can use to try it on your own. Also, here is a link to the documentation if ever you want to dig deeper into how Strands work. And also, I have a CTA for you. reInvent is at the end of this year. Every year in December, the first week of December, from December 1st to December 5th. If you use this code, you can redeem the first 100 person who uses this code can have a $150 off of their tickets, which is really cool. Yeah. So. Gosh, it was really quick. But yeah, if you have any questions, if I'm presenting my slides, I can't see you, so I don't know if there's questions in the chat or things. I'll just leave it there for yeah.
There were sadly enough no questions. I guess people were just struggling along with you and were very happy to see that somebody doesn't actually stop when the auto completion doesn't work. So that was really good.
Yeah.
It just shows how used to we are to like these great things that actually an IDE does the auto completion for you as soon as we know tell it what the differences are. It feels a very interesting way of building things because this is it's I mean we used to do it with packages that are dependent on each other and these kind of things, and now we just let agents do the things for us. I'm not quite sure about the messaging that I'm shooting all my running agents. That's a really weird one, but like it's interesting to see what we could do, and what I would love to see is like, can we get a write up from you, like a guest article in our magazine that actually talks us through this demo code and actually shows some more of those things that we could release together with the video?
Um, you're asking about blog posts about this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm, yeah. ABC. Let me check. Strands. Um, Builder Center. Yeah. Okay. So we have this. Let me share this with you. I don't know if yeah, if I share it in the chat, can everybody access it?
No, you can't, but we will put it on the recording then later on, so not to
Okay.
worry. I mean, if there's already
Um,
an existing resource, we can link to that one as well. Yeah.
So let me just share this with you on my screen if you want to put this back up on. But this website is called the Builder Center, AWS Builder Center, where we share a lot of articles about the latest things that we've built, our services. And Dennis Traub, one of my coworkers, has actually written a series with AI agents on Strands. It's so far 4 different articles where you can build your first agent. You can check, you can see the MCP server. I don't think he has written an article yet on A2A, but it's probably upcoming. But yeah, all of the other articles that we're going to post will be on Builder Center if ever you want to have a look at it.
Cool. I mean, we're far over time here that we normally have with this show, so I think it's about time to wrap up because we also got other meetings
Yeah.
coming, and you had people knocking on your door already. Look at that.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah, it
in
would have been
terms
much faster with the auto completion, but I'm just sorry. This wasn't working.
In terms of what is your last message to the audience of today? Like, where do you think this is going? Do you think that agentic coding is something that a lot of people that have access directly, like you, to the systems can do, or is it something that you will see that people should play with because it's going to become a big thing in the near future?
My guess is that agents are going to be a huge thing in the future. Like agentic workflows will be. My guess would probably be that it's going to be the norm. Um, Already, a lot of people are trying to make different agents collaborate to generate code, to generate applications. This can go really far. We have this vision with other colleagues at AWS that today you have an app store, and maybe in the future, what you'll have on your phone is an agent that is an assistant, your Jarvis, and you'll have an agent store rather than having an app store where there's a lot of people that are going to contribute and post their agent that are specialized in certain tasks. And you'll be able to connect your agent with whichever agents are on the store and they will be able to together complete tasks for you. And I think when people understand the power of agents, this is probably what's going to happen, because this is the only way you can get an actual Jarvis, like an actual AI assistant that can help you do so many different things. And then you're not even going to go on the, for example, Uber app. You'll just ask your phone, like, get a, Uber for me from wherever I am. And if your agent has access to the Uber agent, the Google Map agent, and other agents that can, see your localization and where you're going, or your calendar agent, then they can plan things for you. I think it would be cool. It would be cool.
It's interesting because when Siri came out, that's exactly, and Cortana came out, we said exactly the same things. Cortana is going to
Yeah.
call other systems and have other bits in there, and we always want this, like Jarvis kind of ubiquitous computer helper. But yeah, the wiring is there. That's what I find very interesting about the demo that you
Yeah.
showed there, that we can do these things, that when you think of agents as like resources that you can pull in on demand, that actually then pull other resources that you don't want to think about, that you don't want to care about. I mean, a rolling dice function can be done in one line, but it actually could be reused that way and actually make sure that it's a random dice roll, which is really hard to do in computing. So that's
Yes.
something that you could then do that way. So thanks very much, Tiffany. This was great.
Yeah.
So
My pleasure.
Dan, any last words for our audience?
Just to say, maybe we were saying about going offline and kind of all of that sort of stuff. I might actually try, Tiffany, this strange style of coding that you did, where you had no auto completion and you actually wrote it all by hand. It feels very alien, but I might give that a go. But yeah, just to say thank you very much for that. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, thanks again.
Thanks. Thanks.
Excellent. This was WeAreDevelopers Live for today. We're going to be next Wednesday, where we don't know yet who we're going to invite. I had one person invited who can't come, but it's going to be again from this place here in Corfu. So who knows what's going to happen. I see you next Wednesday, and thanks very much for watching.